She'll never admit it. She'll never tell you the real reason she stopped replying. Why she ghosted you. Why she left you on read even though she knew you were waiting. Why she was laughing at your messages while texting another man. She'll never explain why she seemed into you one day and cold as ice the next. But I will, because you deserve the truth. And most men are too afraid to hear it. But you came here for answers. For the truth. If you're texting women like you're a nice, respectful, available guy who just wants to connect, you're done before you even send the message. You're not just invisible, you're pathetic to her subconscious mind. You've already lost the moment you tried to please her. But when you master these 5 texting secrets, everything changes. Her eyes will light up when she sees your name. Her heart will race when your message appears. She'll feel curious, emotional, hooked, even if she doesn't understand why. And best of all, she'll start chasing you. You want to become the one man she can't ignore. Then open your mind, brace yourself, because you're about to step into a new world of power. Type, "I attract, not chase," in the comments if you're ready to reclaim your strength. You've been lied to. You were told to be sweet, be consistent, always reply fast, show you care, and for that, she punished you. You poured your attention into her phone like gasoline, and she lit it on fire and walked away. She didn't ghost you because you weren't good enough. She ghosted you because you were too available. She didn't flake because she was busy. She flaked because you had no emotional gravity. You didn't pull her in, you didn't challenge her, you didn't command her respect. That stops now. Because this isn't about manipulation. This is about reclaiming power you gave away. And we're using timeless Stoic principles to do it. You're not here to entertain her. You're here to be the one man who doesn't need her attention, but still gets it. Let's get into the 5 texting secrets that women can't resist. Each one is built on the foundation of Stoic calm, emotional control, and undeniable presence. Number 1. Seductive humor. Seductive humor is one of the most lethal psychological tools a man can wield in texting because it bypasses logical thinking and triggers instant emotional association. A woman's brain doesn't fall in love through logic or checklist compatibility. It attaches to emotion, to conflict, to the man she cannot predict. When you make a woman laugh, not because you're goofy, but because your words sting softly and challenge her identity, you create a space where her emotions can fluctuate, and wherever emotions fluctuate, attraction grows. Most men, when they hear humor, instantly fall into the trap of trying to be a clown. They overcompensate. They text memes, emojis, exaggerated compliments, or dad jokes, hoping she smiles and rewards them with attention. She may smile, she may even reply, but she won't crave. She won't be sitting at dinner wondering what you'll say next. That only happens when you master the kind of humor that stings just enough to force her to play defense. And when a woman is playing defense in conversation, she's engaging, she's locked in, and most importantly, she's emotionally invested. That's seductive humor. It's the fine balance between charm and challenge. She might text you something like, "I'm going out with the girls tonight." The average man replies, "Sounds fun. Stay safe." Or, "You'll look amazing, I bet." Or the worst, "Wish I could come." That's passive. That's validation. That's weakness. Instead, the man who understands seductive humor replies with something like, "Oh wow, the city's officially in danger." Or, "Guess I'll text the police to be on high alert tonight." Or even, "So basically, the wine will have no chance of surviving." Notice the tone. It's teasing. It assumes attraction. It has zero neediness. You're not congratulating her for having a life. You're reframing her experience as you being the one she should be thinking about. She may reply, "Ha ha ha, you're ridiculous," But emotionally she's thinking, he's confident, he's clever, he's fun to talk to. And if she texts back, "You're such a troublemaker," you reply, "You'd be lucky to survive me," then drop it. Don't try to explain. Let the seed plant in her imagination. That's how you make her lie awake thinking about your last message while another guy is sending her, "Good night, beautiful." Another psychological angle to understand is the use of reverse compliments. When she sends a selfie, most men say, "You look gorgeous," "stunning," or some emoji combo. She expects that, and if you give her what she expects, you become just like every other man. But when she sends that selfie and you respond with, "Wow, that filter's working overtime today," or "You definitely tried hard with that angle," you're subtly telling her, "I see you, and I'm not impressed yet." And that creates curiosity. That provokes her ego, and women chase the man who makes their ego uncertain. You're not insulting her, you're playing with her. Think about the psychology. When a woman knows she's hot and gets validated all day, the only man who stands out is the one who sees through it. Not in a bitter, insecure way, but with the calm confidence that says, "Your beauty doesn't shake me." Seductive humor is about speaking from that frame. You're not trying to entertain. You're not trying to be liked. You're communicating that you are the prize, and any reaction she gives you is just bonus. Never ask basic questions. Never send safe responses. Never respond with LOL or haha without doubling down on the energy. Always lead the emotional rhythm, and always remember, humor without sexual tension is friendship. Humor with bold undertones of mystery, challenge, and self-assurance. That's seduction. So if she texts, "You're such a bad influence," don't say, "Ha ha ha, no I'm not." You say, "Only on Mondays. Tuesdays I'm a saint." She laughs, but she also leans in. That's seductive humor. And once you learn to own it, she'll be checking her phone wondering when you'll hit her with the next wave. Number 2, the mystery drop. If you want to become unforgettable through text, you must weaponize the most overlooked and misunderstood force in human communication: mystery. Human psychology is hardwired to complete unfinished stories. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. The mind obsesses over what isn't resolved. This is why cliffhangers work in movies, why you binge-watch shows when they end mid-conflict, and why a woman who doesn't understand you can't stop thinking about you. The average man tries to compensate for lack of mystery by over-explaining himself, oversharing stories, and responding with paragraphs. He thinks if he just explains it right, she'll see his value. But clarity does not equal attraction. Curiosity equals attraction. Every time you explain yourself fully, you kill the opportunity for her to imagine more. You strip her of the chance to fill in blanks, to wonder, to chase closure. And if she's not chasing closure in her mind, she's scrolling past your name like it never mattered. You must speak in layers. You must be just vague enough that her imagination does the heavy lifting, and her imagination will always paint you in more vivid, more attractive colors than anything you could manually describe. She might text you, "What's your type?" And every nice guy instantly spills, "Someone loyal, funny, kind, good with family," and he's done. He's in the nice text guy folder. She'll never feel a heartbeat for him. Instead you say, "I like the kind of girl who wears danger like perfume." Now you've dropped a grenade. What does that even mean? She doesn't know, but she wants to. And that want keeps her hooked. That's the mystery drop. It's short. It's strange. It creates questions. And if she replies, "What does that mean?" don't answer directly. Say, "It's not something I can explain over text." Now she's invested. Now she needs to figure you out. Now you're in her head. Let's look at another example. She texts, "How was your day?" Most men reply, "Good, just work stuff." Useless, dead, lifeless. She's already bored. You, on the other hand, say, "Had one of the most interesting convos today. Reminded me of a dream I had. Still not sure what it means. That message alone hits like a cinematic trailer. She wants to know more. She might say, "What was the dream?" You say, "I'll tell you if we ever end up sharing a bottle of red." Now the conversation has direction. Now there's a challenge. Now there's imagery. That's the game. That's how you dominate the interaction without begging for attention. The psychological principle here is control over mental real estate. Every time she opens her phone, your message is playing in her background processes. She might be talking to a guy who's giving her full details, emojis, affection. But she's thinking about you, the man who never finished the story, the one who doesn't try, the one who left her wondering. This is power. Not noise, not validation, power. And when you master the mystery drop, you never have to double text again, because she'll come back to fill in the silence herself. Even when making plans, use mystery to escalate. Don't say, "Let's go to dinner at this place at 7 p.m. Say, "I found a place that reminds me of you. I'll show you if you're lucky." Now she's intrigued. She might ask, "Where is it?" You reply, "You'll see." Don't give her a clear path. Give her tension. Let her sit with it. Make your texts feel like puzzles with pieces missing. And every time she texts you to solve it, she's investing deeper in you. Never explain your jokes. Never justify your teasing. Never clarify your flirtation. Let her feel the ambiguity. Women don't fall for logic. They fall for stories they don't understand, but can't stop replaying. So if she texts, "You're confusing," you reply, "That's part of the fun." And then go dark. That's how you hook her thoughts. That's how you burn your name into her mind. That's the mystery drop. And once you use it with precision, you become unforgettable. Number 3, the mirror game. The mirror game is not a trick. It is the direct embodiment of psychological dominance through emotional calibration, a masterclass in using her own behavior as the blueprint for how you respond with unshakable control. And the reason it works so brutally well is because it reflects a woman's energy back to her with surgical precision, denying her the validation she subconsciously craves from you and placing her in a mental loop of self-doubt and desire. When a woman texts slow, dry, or short, most men panic. They see the emotional withdrawal as a test of their worth, and instead of matching her silence, they collapse into fear, sending longer messages, over-explaining themselves, and trying desperately to prove they're still good enough. But every time they do that, they drive the attraction down by subconsciously confirming their lower value in the dynamic. Because when a woman pulls back and you lean in, you're telling her, "You have more emotional power than me." And once that imbalance is obvious, the attraction dissolves. Now compare this with a man who plays the mirror game properly. She replies 3 hours later with a 2-word message like, "Sounds good." And instead of reacting, he disappears for 6 hours, then replies with "noted" or a reaction emoji and nothing more. And the psychological impact of this is massive, because now she feels unseen. She starts wondering if she lost his interest. She rereads her last message and questions whether she was too dry, and the chase instinct is triggered like an alarm in her subconscious mind. Because most women are used to men bending over backward when given scraps of attention, and when that doesn't happen, they lose their frame of superiority and try to reclaim it by chasing yours. And let's go deeper, because the mirror game isn't just about timing, it's about energy matching with escalation, meaning you reflect her behavior but slightly lower in intensity, keeping her chasing just above the surface and eventually reversing the roles entirely. Let's say she replies with, "Haha, wow," after a joke you made. Most men would double down, trying to keep the vibe going, maybe adding, "You know I'm right," or "Ha ha ha, had to say it." But the man who plays the mirror game replies with nothing. Or even better, follows up 6 hours later with, "Just remembered something even worse, but I'll save that for later." Then goes silent again. And now you're not only matching her low-energy reply, but you're controlling the pacing of the conversation, forcing her to lean forward emotionally. And when she finally texts something engaged, like, "Wait, what? Tell me," you reward her investment by giving a more detailed, playful reply, thus training her brain through intermittent reinforcement. The same psychological mechanism that makes gambling addictive, because unpredictable responses create emotional obsession. And in texting, this manifests as her checking her phone more often, rereading your old messages, and wondering what you're thinking. And this is key. The mirror game only works when you have the discipline to resist your urge to chase, because your silence is more powerful than any clever line. And when she starts mirroring you, that's when you reverse the game completely. You shift from reactive mode to leadership mode, and this entire cycle, repeated correctly, makes you unforgettable, not because of what you said, but because of how your presence distorted her rhythm, like a psychological storm she didn't see coming. And the best part is, it's completely stoic. It's grounded in emotional non-reactivity, self-control, and delayed gratification, principles that built empires, not Instagram relationships. So next time she replies, "I'll let you know if I'm free," don't say, "Cool, just let me know." Say nothing, or reply a day later with, "Don't stress it, time's expensive." Then disappear again, and watch how fast her priorities shift, because the one who mirrors eventually becomes the one who leads. Number 4. Emotional whiplash. Emotional whiplash is the art of deliberately controlling the rise and fall of emotional intensity in conversation to engineer psychological addiction. And if that sounds extreme, it's because it is. Because every woman, no matter how composed she seems, is biologically tuned to respond to stories, tension, and emotional variation, not comfort and consistency. And if your texts feel like a flat road with no bumps, no turns, and no tension, she will not stick around, because the feminine mind thrives in uncertainty, not safety. And the mistake most men make is thinking that being dependable in texting, always replying fast, always being sweet, always being agreeable, is attractive, when in fact it creates an emotional flatline that leads to disinterest and eventually disrespect. Think about it. When was the last time a woman became obsessed with the guy who said, "Good morning, beautiful," every single day at 8 a.m. without fail? Never. Because that kind of behavior is expected, robotic, and emotionally inert. Women bond through emotion, and the deeper the variation of emotional experiences they associate with you, the more they feel tied to your presence. This is why toxic guys get obsessed over, not because toxicity is good, but because emotional volatility is memorable. And once you understand that you can replicate that emotional roller coaster without being toxic, you become dangerous in all the right ways. So how do you implement emotional whiplash in texting? You start by shifting your rhythm unpredictably. If you're texting back fast for 2 days, slow down and vanish on day 3, only to return with a message that's short, teasing and sharp, like, "Just saw someone who looked like you, but better dressed." Then disappear again, and now she's emotionally activated, unsure of your mood, curious about your mindset, and drawn back into your frame without even knowing why. Or she says something playful like, "You're such a flirt," and instead of laughing or confirming it, you say, "Flirt? Number, I'm an experience," and leave it there. No emoji, no follow-up, no explanation, just a sharp drop after the rise. And what this does neurologically is trigger a dopamine spike followed by withdrawal, the same dynamic that drives addiction in romantic chemistry. And the more cycles of this you create, the more deeply she bonds with the unknown you represent. Another way to implement emotional whiplash is with strategic compliment and challenge layering. For example, if she posts a hot story and DMs you, "What's your verdict?" most men say, "You're stunning," which ends the tension instantly. But you say, "Cute," if we ignore the tragic lighting. And now she's laughing, confused, and curious. And when she replies, "Wow, rude," you don't backpedal. You say, "Brutal honesty is how I bond," and then switch the subject. She's emotionally spiked. The conversation is volatile in the best way, and you're now branded in her mind as the one man who makes her feel things she can't control. And let's be clear, this isn't manipulation, it's artful leadership, because at no point are you disrespectful, cruel, or erratic. You're just strategic in how you deliver emotion, knowing full well that emotional contrast is the root of attraction, just like music needs silence and stories need conflict. And every time you raise the vibe with flirting, then drop it with cold mystery, or challenge her after a compliment, or disappear after a deep moment, you are training her brain to need your presence for emotional release, and this makes your attention more valuable than anything she's getting from men who treat her like royalty for no reason. The key to emotional whiplash is precision. Too much chaos and you lose trust. Too much consistency and you lose attention. But just the right balance where every message feels like a new chapter, every reply disrupts her expectation, and every silence makes her question her own desirability. That's where you live, that's where you win, and that's where obsession starts to form. Not because you're trying to make her chase, but because you've become her emotional unpredictability drug, and she'll keep checking her phone, craving her next hit, wondering why your silence feels louder than anyone else's praise. And that's how you turn text messages into mental submission, all without raising your voice, all without chasing, and all with stoic calm. Because emotional whiplash is not about chaos, it's about curated tension. And when you learn to create it, control it, and disappear inside it, she won't know why she can't forget you. Number 5. Text like you see the future. Texting like you see the future is not a gimmick, it is not a line, and it is not about making vague predictions in some mystical attempt to sound deep. It is a calculated psychological projection that asserts masculine leadership, directional energy, and emotional certainty into the chaotic, indecisive, and emotionally reactive world most women exist in. And when you become the man who speaks from vision, not validation, you immediately trigger a deep, evolutionary sense of security, intrigue, and magnetism in her that she can't explain logically, but feels deeply in her body. The reason this method is so powerful is because women are biologically wired to test for competence, not compliance, and a man who texts in a way that paints a clear, emotionally immersive future experience immediately signals the traits her brain is hunting for subconsciously: dominance, decisiveness, emotional authority, and narrative control. And you do this not by asking what she wants or waiting for her cues, but by creating the future in your words and inviting her into it like she's already part of the story, which is the direct opposite of what most men do. Most men text like they're requesting permission to exist. What do you feel like doing this weekend? Are you free Friday maybe? Let me know if you're up for something. And what this communicates is not flexibility. It communicates uncertainty, lack of frame, and a deep-seated insecurity about being rejected. And that insecurity leaks through the text like poison, no matter how polite or respectful it's wrapped, because women do not want to lead. They want to be swept into a story that already has a direction, and when you become the narrator of that story, you shift the emotional power back into your hands. So, how does this actually look in text? Let's say you're planning a meetup. Average men say, "What do you want to do?" or "Do you like sushi?" But the man who texts like he sees the future says, "We'll do something simple next week. You like sushi, right?" There's a place I know that'll change your life. What just happened? You didn't ask. You led. You assumed the close. You projected confidence in the plan and built in emotional reward. Now, even if she says, "I'm not sure I'm free," she's already imagining herself there, already feeling the experience, and already mentally committing to your frame. This is the psychology of pre-framing, where you set the tone and create a vision she subconsciously starts wanting to step into. It's how cult leaders recruit followers. It's how master salesmen sell without selling. It's how high-level seduction works in real time. Another example, she texts, "I'm bored," and most guys say, "Haha, same," or "want to talk." Weak, reactive, no tension. But you say, "I know. That's why we're fixing that next Friday. You'll thank me after." That one sentence reorients her attention from now to then, from lack to anticipation, and from control to surrender. She may reply, "What are we doing?" And now you have her playing into your frame. You're not reacting, you're directing. The key to this dynamic is understanding future pacing, a technique used in high-stakes negotiation and hypnotic persuasion, where you speak in a way that assumes compliance and subtly builds emotional investment before it's even needed. For example, instead of saying, "We should hang out sometime," which reeks of neediness and unsureness, you say, "After next week, I won't let you go a full weekend without my espresso recommendations. It's a problem, you'll see." Now you've made a bold, playful promise, injected confidence, created a unique experience only you provide, and most importantly, you spoke from a place of it already happened. That removes the need for permission. That removes the fear of rejection. And it inserts you into her future timeline before she's even processed it consciously. Her brain now begins normalizing the idea of you being in her world. She starts imagining the interaction, and that visualization triggers emotional ownership. Let's elevate this even further. Suppose she says, "I'm not really a planner," or "I'm super spontaneous." Most guys back off, apologize, try to adapt to her vibe. But when you're the man who sees the future, you say, "Perfect. That's why I'll keep you guessing," or "Good. I've got a way of making the unexpected feel like fate." That reply not only embraces her worldview, it reasserts leadership by making your unpredictability the frame she's going to follow. This is how you dominate without force. This is how you lead without begging. And this is how you install yourself in her imagination as the man she trusts to handle things. Because that's what this is about. Texting like you see the future is less about logistics and more about the feeling of emotional competence you project. Women fall for certainty. Not certainty in the outcome, but certainty in you. And don't make the mistake of thinking this is just for setting dates or flirting. This frame works in emotional conversation too. She texts, "I don't know. I've just been overthinking a lot lately." Most men panic, try to fix her or worse, overshare about their own anxiety. But you say, "That's because you haven't been around someone who quiets your mind instead of adding to it. It's okay. That changes soon." Boom. She doesn't know if you're serious, joking, mystical, but she feels something. She feels your vision. And even if she pushes back with, "You're cocky," you respond with, "Just accurate," or "Told you I see things before they happen." That's power. That's mystery. That's influence through presence. The reason this works so consistently is because of a psychological phenomenon called transderivational search. It's when the brain is presented with an ambiguous but emotionally charged statement and has to internally search for meaning, creating personal associations that make the message feel deeply relevant, even if it was vague. So when you say things like, "You're going to be trouble, I already know it," she subconsciously begins wondering why, looking for evidence how, and ultimately internalizing the message as truth. simply because she had to find the meaning herself. This is the Jedi level of texting, where you don't just say things, you say things that unfold in her mind for hours after the screen goes black. Another example, she posts a selfie or an outfit pic and texts, "Be honest, how do I look?" The weak man responds with, "So hot," or "Wow," predictable, bland, approval-seeking. You, on the other hand, say, "Like someone I should have warned my future self about." You just combined seduction, foreshadowing, and psychological tension in one line. She's laughing, she's unsure, she's thinking. She might reply, "You're insane," and that's your cue to say, "You'll say that again next week. Just wait." Now you've layered the future frame even deeper. You're building a timeline in her mind where your presence is assumed, and by doing so, you increase your perceived value, not because you begged for it, but because you installed it through language. And yes, this is Stoic energy at its peak, because it's calm, it's composed, it's never reactive. You're not projecting the future out of hope. You're projecting it from clarity, from a sense of internal control so strong that you don't need confirmation or comfort. You simply speak it into motion, knowing full well that if she doesn't step into that frame, someone else will. That is the magnetic pull of a man who texts like he sees the future. His words feel like destiny. His presence feels like certainty. His absence feels like emptiness. And once she's tasted that balance of vision and unpredictability, her nervous system gets addicted to it, because there's nothing more rare in her world than a man who doesn't ask where things are going. He already knows. Now you know the truth. She didn't lose interest because you weren't good enough. She lost interest because you never gave her a reason to stay curious. She left because your words never made her feel something she couldn't control. But now you've seen behind the curtain. Now you understand what works. Mystery, polarity, leadership, precision. Now it's not about if she replies, it's about whether she's earned one. You are no longer the man who texts to please. You are now the man she can't stop thinking about. Because when your words lead, her emotions follow. And from now on, you don't chase, you calibrate, you command, you disappear, and make her find you. If this spoke to something inside you, if it unlocked a truth you always knew was there, comment below, "I attract, not chase." If you want these insights to keep flowing, if you want more truths most men will never hear, if you believe this kind of truth should reach every man who's still in the dark, then support this channel, not for me, but to help every version of you that still exists out there. Texting blindly, begging for replies, lost in confusion. Because every view, every like, every share brings clarity to someone else. Subscribe to the channel, change your life, help others change theirs.